listen, fam, they are Frosted Flakes, Lucky
We're
Charm.
live.
Welcome back to the CONVO Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
We have a great
Foster's-
show for you today.
Foster's over here talking about Frosted Flake Lucky Charms. I don't even know what that is.
Well, fam, before we get to the show, let's have a big sigh of relief. It's finally over. I know Johnny Pesto's got some opinions about it. Game of Thrones, in the books, done. John Snow. Yeah, John is one Snorth. Jon Snow, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to ruin it because a lot of people are going to watch it today, and we had to watch it today because we didn't want to wake up and see all the spoilers. Did we not?
No
fam?
spoilers. Spoilers avoided because we're just gonna wait till a couple people get in here because
Yeah. We're letting, are people matriculating in right now
on Facebook right now?
Let's share
Give me
some
a
stuff.
second. Can you try?
Well,
to...
let me just talk about a few things while we're matriculating, and just we want to remind everybody that the CONVO Couch and the MCSC Network, and thank you for joining in from the MCSC Network. Excuse me. We have a GoFundMe because we are going to the California KDEM Democratic Convention. All the candidates for president are supposed to be there, and also some California people, some California elected officials will be there as well. And for some of those elected officials, me, I'm going to be interviewing a lot of people. We have questions for you, as my man, Dr. Cornell West would say. And we're going to highlight a couple people in the show today because there are certain things going on. But let's start off from the top, fam. There was something written in the New York Times. Why don't you break it down? Because this is kind of great. This has a lot to do with why I started the CONVO Couch with you. When I met you, we met in 2016 to give a little bit of backstory.
2015, actually.
2015, excuse me, for the 26 election. And we met on the campaign trail. And I was blown away when I met you. And I was blown away by a lot of millennials when I met them to see them carrying the torch and really caring. So we have this piece, fam. Why don't you break it down? Because it was, I know it kind of lit your fire.
So
lit the Khaleesi in you.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't die.
Yeah.
Like Khaleesi.
No spoilers. Go ahead. Spoilers.
Okay, so the boomers decided to attack millennials yet again via a New York Times article that was kind of taking Biden's side because, as you all know, Biden doesn't really like millennials. So Biden has said many times that millennials are lazy, that they're entitled. Give me a break. I have no sympathy for you. And to me, after reading this, it's one of the most entitled things you can say, being a boomer. And this isn't again to attack all boomers because we get a lot of people who are like, not all boomers are like this.
Lauren
and blah,
Steiner
blah, blah.
gets mad at
like,
me
and
when I say
this
that
isn't.
stuff. Yeah.
But it's not a blanket statement. This is just a lot of them do have this point of view. And this guy said, I'm 60, and I say to the millennials, put down the Facebook, Twitter, avocado toast, influencer, blogs, and vote. Save the snark for your elders. We have much experience, writes a reader on Brett Stevens' Dear Millennials. The feeling is mutual. So Phyllis Dalmatian from Wichita, Kansas wrote, wow, the voice of common sense and encouragement. I'm 60, and this is exact. He said, put up, shut up, put down the Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So that's what he wrote. And so the New York Times did a whole entire op-ed saying, I agree, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, my entire anger that from this whole thing is the fact that I know the majority of my friends work more than one job. They work 2 to 4 jobs, more so 3 to 4 jobs, and they have degrees and they're not getting paid what they should be getting paid. And it's ridiculous for this generation and other people who are entitled, who got the benefits and the privileges that we don't get today, that we can only dream of, that is pie in the sky, that we call pipe dreams.
Yeah.
And I basically said, I'm a millennial, and I say to boomers, stop pretending we didn't get screwed by the system placed before our time. Stop calling us entitled and lazy when we work 3 to 4 jobs just to get by. Do you have the tweet? You got the free things that for us are pipe dreams. Put down the mainstream media and listen to us for once. And I know you have some opinions on this, ma'am.
Well, I mean, we have a list of things going on. I kind of talk about this all the time, and I say, there's a lot of micro battles going in with a macro level, within the United States, within social issues, within economic justice, whatnot. But a lot of the game is rigged for the older generation, to keep their money, to to profit off their money. We didn't have the same chances of them. And I talked about this going on the road and meeting you guys and seeing a lot of millennials during the Bernie campaign. I was just like, wow, I was blown away. And I would fight with a lot of my elders too as well when we would talk about these things, where they would try to just blanket classify millennials and say, hey, they're too busy playing Pokemon and they're on the YouTubes and the Facebooks and they're not doing what they need to do, which is just a bullshit thing. And now you have some facts over here.
Yeah.
And I want to go through these 5 facts, these 6 facts you have. And each one I would like to piggyback on that as well, because I have some statistics I broke up. So why don't you start with the first fact, which shows that it's a distorted fact to say that millennials, Generation Z, have gotten the same opportunity as our grandfathers, those baby boomers, and those traditionalists.
So the healthcare and housing and education are more than 5 times more expensive than they were for our parents.
Yes. I mean, home ownership has gone down. That's something I think the Generation X and the Z have done smart. They haven't bought into these overpriced houses that are ridiculous that would strap them down. They've done a lot of rental stuff, but they've had no choice.
Yeah.
That was part of the American dream back in the days. You can take a job doing anything. And I mean, literally, my grandfather swept the docks. I talked about it. And I don't know. Do you have unions in here? Should I talk about unions right here or for the next one when it comes? What's the next one?
I mean, there are fewer steady jobs.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. That's a fact. And you talk about unions, and the unions have shrunk.
Yeah. Well, look at this. In the 1950s, the 1960s, about 25% of the nation had a union job. 1/4 of the union had a union job. And in 1983, when Ronald Reagan started coming in, it was down to 20.1. In 2013, it was down to 11.3. And now it's creeping to almost under 10% for union jobs in America, which means simply we didn't protect workers in this country.
Yep.
And our generation just got it right on the nose. Like I said, my grandfather swept the docks. He was able to buy a house, put 4 kids through college. Today, fam, if you sweep the docks, you're probably homeless.
Oh, yeah, you're homeless. And by the way, a lot of people who are homeless or who live in their cars have full-time jobs where they work over 40 hours a week, by the way. So obviously something is amiss. We have the wages have stagnated since the 1970s. They'd be about $25 to $30 if they had gone up with inflation. Minimum wage.
Yeah.
Minimum wage would be about that much.
How about this one? Back in college, when my mother went to college, my mother is a baby boomer. She's at the end of the beginning of the baby boomers, traditionalist right over there. But you can get a summer job when she went to college, and you can pay for a whole year of tuition with that summer job. Nowadays, you need 18 summer jobs if you can even get one. 18. I mean, so that's really to tell you the truth about when we talk about a crisis, fam. The housing crisis is very, very important, but also we got to look at the education crisis, the student debt crisis. It's out of control. So not only have they were giving pretty much education was free for our parents. Nowadays they're putting actual handcuffs, and balls and chains on students nowadays when they get out and slap them with debt. So.
Exactly. And then people also have more, people now have Social Security, elderly people over 65. That's socialized medicine. Yep. So I'm just wondering where the outrage comes when it's Medicare for All is called socialism. Where is that coming from? Because our elderly are being taken care of. But in general, we're seeing even Social Security diminish. Yeah. By the time we are old, we're not going to have Social Security for us. Yeah,
there's a great group of senior citizens right now, people who are dying. They don't have the proper means to die. It's starting to happen. Another crisis that's coming on. But when you talk about the other generation, here's another sense. When we go out and we buy something, the tax we pay, every money we make at our jobs, the tax we pay is around 20-25%. Capital gains tax, which most of the people who own the majority of stocks are people, baby boomers, whatnot. They pay less than 15%, and they can write off a lot of stuff. Right. So they even got the tax code system in the favor of the elderly people as well, compared to the younger people. And not to mention is that pretty much accumulating wealth, I have another statistics over here, is that if you're under the age of 35, your probably net worth is an average in this country around 15 grand. If you're above 65 to 74, your average net worth might be around 224 grand. They were able to save money. Okay, their expenses of life, their housing, the food, their milk, everything they bought which a lot cheaper than what we're paying today. We're paying like 35% of our salaries now right on rent, where they were paying under 20%.
And that's also like, it's an average, but most people I know don't even have that.
Yeah.
Literally nothing. Living paycheck to paycheck, not having even $1,000 in the bank in case something happens,
Yeah.
and that's just that seems actually high to me. But according to the U.S. Census, we are a half as likely to own a home as our people were our age in 1975. So that's another thing that you kind of went over. And then so we've also taken at least 300% more student debt than our parents.
Yeah.
300% more. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
The cost of education is now here. The jobs are paying over here. So that gap right there where you have to pay for that education and your salaries just don't meet, the inflation, haven't moved with inflation, you're just going to put yourself in a huge hole. And not to mention, fam, these wars nowadays that these kids have fought on, they were all we all went to war on a pack of lies. Okay, you talk about Vietnam, you talk about Iraq, all these situations, Afghanistan, they were all brewed up on a pack of lies. And we have a whole generation of these kids coming back from these wars who have PTSD. Remember the 22 push-ups every day? You can't just talk about the servicemen we lose overseas. What about when they come back? The VA system is broken. The healthcare system is broken. These kids are ending up on the streets. It's disgusting. It's shameful. And once again, the person who wrote this article, this opinion piece in the New York Times, really should just shut their mouth. So, sorry.
Half of us are living in poverty according to the U.S. Census, and it's probably higher now.
Yeah.
A fifth,
no,
actually.
It's a
fifth of us. But according to NerdWallet, also based on current predictions of federal data, our generation won't be able to retire till we're 75. And that's even if we can retire.
So 1/5 of us are living in poverty. I think it's close to like 1/4 now. They say like this.
I agree.
Here's the thing to talk about. Over half the nation is living in almost poverty. So they're right on the edge. They're just one catastrophe, a car accident, a broken leg, something to happen that really can just push them over the edge. So even though it's only like a quarter of us that are living in poverty or whatever it is now, almost half the nation is living in near poverty. So they're not much better than those people who are suffering on the streets. Johnny, did you have any comments, anything you saw up there that you wanted to talk about in the MCSC network? We want to invite those people to come over to our YouTube, our Facebook. We have a Twitter. Fam gets crazy on Twitter. If you ain't got fam's Twitter, then you don't know. Nothing, Johnny, right now? Okay, sorry, fam.
All right.
You want to get to the next topic?
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys have seen Warren actually be promoting this sort of green imperialism, and she kind of went at it again this weekend when she tweeted, "Together we can work with our military to fight climate change." And over here she says they have a picture. Our military can help lead the fight against climate change.
Wow.
And she has an entire Medium article on it. It's ridiculous. So a lot of people had a lot of opinions on this because they were obviously I don't know what she's thinking, if she thinks we're stupid or if she thinks the majority of people are stupid. And there are a lot of stupid people out there. And there are a lot of people, and I don't want to insult people, but there are a lot of people that just aren't aware that this is talk for expanding the military and not in a good way, for pro-imperialism. And it's the neoliberal thing to do is to put something like cutesy on shit, like to put glitter on actual shit and say, call it progressive. And that's exactly what this is. So this guy from Twitter impeached Trump, whatever his name is, I don't know what it is, but he said Elizabeth Warren, together we can, and crossed out and dismantle our military to fight climate change. Because honestly, that is what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Every time you drop bombs, our entire climate is affected to like
green bombs, fam. Green bombs.
Points. It's literally what hurts our climate. Wars, if they've done studies where if you continue to drop the effects of nuclear bombs and what it would be like, they still do studies on what we did in Japan, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the effects are not only massive on people, on the immediate people, obviously, that are surrounding the area, but on our climate, it's you can't change it. You can't go back.
Can we talk about Elizabeth Warren for a second? She just doesn't get it. She just doesn't get it. She's getting too close to the point where I don't even think I know if I won't vote for her if it came down to her and Donald Trump. Really, I mean, I already said that I will never vote for Joe Biden. I mean, Elizabeth Warren with statements like this, with her backtracking on Venezuela and getting caught saying the things she does, just warmongering, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She talks about all this, economic justice and whatnot, but here she is promoting and saying it's okay to pretty much just fund our military with fucking green bombs. I don't even get it.
I don't know. I don't get it. And someone else put like
To
a
polish
picture
a
of
turd.
how to polish a turd.
Can we get that up here? Because I would like, because Elizabeth Warren wrote the book. Here's how you polish a turd. You see that on the left there? You crumble it down. You get some water. You mix it together. You're in the middle over there. You know
That
what I'm
was
saying?
someone's response. That's
Okay.
totally perfect.
Then
by
you
the way.
can polish it. You see the bottom right there? Voila. You get a nice, shiny, polished piece of shit.
But it's still shit.
It's still shit.
So I wanted to bring up a fact because, people don't always love stuff from Twitter, but I have a study from this American team that was kind of looking into the result of bombs on our ecosystem. And it's basically said, this guy who spoke at the American Geophysical Union's meeting in San Fran, his name is Richard Turco, and he said that detonating between 50 and 100 bombs, just 0.03 of the world's arsenal, would throw enough soot in the atmosphere to create climactic anomalies unprecedented in human history.
Soot.
He said this would be much greater than what we're talking about with global warming and anything that's happened in history with regards to volcanic eruptions. So this isn't a joke when I say it's ridiculous that she is trying to promote this sort of green imperialism, because the facts are, the science is that literally war exacerbates an already dire situation when it comes to our climate. So,
Yeah. And she just had all the shit too. Now this is backtracking on this. We had the Venezuela situation. Then we had she won't go on Fox, which is just the stupidest move, with the virtue signaling on the highest mountain about why she won't go on. Big ups to Pete Buttigieg for going on there, for Tulsi seeking it out, and for Bernie having a kick-ass fucking town hall. But Elizabeth Warren, she just shows you that she's not going to be... She has no chance of winning with this mentality, too, as well. The green bombs thing, I mean, all the millennials are going to be like, what the F? You know what I'm saying? And then they're not wanting going on Fox. A lot of independents and Republicans that could be swayed are like going to be like, what? So I don't know what this woman is really trying to do. I don't know if she's kind of jockeying for a vice president spot, but disappointing. Elizabeth Warren.
She's going the centrist route. Like, that's the thing with a lot of these candidates. Even some of the advising that I've seen towards Bernie, you don't win when you go center. You just don't. They have this idea that, we need to get the Republican vote and we need to get everybody, and a centrist candidate is going to win because they're in between and they understand. No, because it's not about even left or right. It's about the policies, and people are hurting. And the only people that are talking about policy are the people that are going hardcore on these policies that people decide to call leftist, but are really just human policies of Medicare for all, of, free public tuition, no more war. It's these things that seem crazy to people that we had back then, before the millennial generation that boomers had. And, we're just trying to expand on that. And so this idea that going to the center is going to win, it's not at all. It's not about that. It's about just literally going down on policy. And Joe Biden today was talking about how he's running to something on America's soul to fighting
restart
for the nation,
the heart and soul
of this country.
Platitude.
That's it.
Yeah.
Really, it feels good, but there's literally no policy behind it, and people need to start paying attention to the policy instead of focusing on like how pretty it sounds.
Yeah, the platitudes and whatnot. And speaking half the time, it's like, we keep saying this. I said this in the Venezuelan video. What the hell does that even fucking mean? Like, what does that mean? Some of the shit these people say, it's like, what does that even fucking mean? And fam, guess where Elizabeth Warren's going to be at the end of the month?
Where?
Oh, she's going to be in San Francisco at the KDEM convention.
She is.
If you want to get on over to our Convo Couch Twitter, our Facebook, our YouTube, any of those things, and if you want us to ask any questions to anybody, put it up there.
Nancy
we're looking
Pelosi's going to be there. Oh,
well, yeah,
it's a cesspool of neo.
We'll get to that. I'm gonna highlight two people who are gonna be at the conventions and their stances, and I plan to ask them at the KDEM's fan. But somebody was out there stomping in Alabama, weren't they?
Yes. So Bernie was in Alabama
your
this
bae?
past weekend. Yeah, Bernie is bae.
Bernie's bae.
But Tulsi's bae too.
Tulsi is bae.
Tulsi is
Tulsi's totally bae. Mike Gravel's even a little bae.
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he gets that look, you know.
Oh my God.
Side with the cane
Dream
and everything.
team right there.
Right there.
But Bernie was in Alabama this weekend, and I had a couple of my friends who went to the rally, and they were really
Look at
excited. And he's in Montgomery today. He had a town hall. So this is Bernie, because a lot of neoliberals are saying that he doesn't care about women's rights, but he has been fighting for women's rights. This was 38 years ago, and he was stomping there for abortion, or for a choice, you know. And I don't like saying pro-abortion because it's like nobody's really pro-abortion.
Pro-choice.
People are just pro-choice. But
Pro-choice.
I wanted to kind of ask you, fam, if you thought that it's kind of weird that people are so heavily focused right now on this issue. It's not that it doesn't matter. Obviously, to me as a woman, I'm pro-choice. Like, I care about women's issues, obviously. But that said, I feel like this is kind of a coming together between the Democrats and the Republicans have been kind of putting this on the forefront. Like, the Republicans kind of pushing against this idea of ignoring Roe v. Wade, which they can't legally do, by the way. And the Democrats kind of like being like, oh my God, like they can't do this. Let's all have like several marches, because there was several marches coincidentally popping up around the same time in Alabama that Bernie, the exact same time he was going to do his rally. My friend Ashley Nicole pointed it out. And a lot of these people are anti-Bernie. Yeah. And it's interesting to me how simultaneously, while this whole debacle between the right and the left, again, is going on, we were about to go to war with Iran. We have escalating tensions with Venezuela. And also pushing, again, the Russia narrative in collusion with Venezuela. Like, all of this has been happening, and all we're focusing on is this. And again, it's not the fact that women's rights aren't important. It is the fact that really, this has been happening forever. It's always been Republicans trying to take away women's rights, trying to push their religious agenda when literally the Constitution is separating church and state. They can't do it. They can't do it. So I just feel like this is another runaround again to get the public to not focus on foreign policy, because they don't. And so then they pay attention to this. And I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm just saying, like, look at the manipulations that are ongoing constantly between the two.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's once again, it's a chance for, and I don't want to beat this word with a drum, but it's a great chance for the Democrats to go virtue signaling again. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's really not about policy behind it. It's not about getting the elected officials into play that are going to vote for the way we want. Remember the Doug Jones factor? It's like we also so set on a guy who was, I forgot the judge's name and whatnot, but we forget to look at the policies and where this other person's getting money from, that once again, they get us clouded with these cultural wars of sorts and these, these other situations where they can sit there and they can virtue signal and say, hey, look at them. They're evil. We're standing up for you. We got to get rid of Trump. But at the end of the day, there's no policy behind it.
Right.
They're not putting people in position. It's just empty promises. And it is a big distraction. And once again, fam, it's like you said, it's not to say that women's rights aren't important and stuff. But once again, these are for big distractions, and people are going to get on the streets and start marching for these things. I mean, we have to start concentrating on what is going on in Iran. Right now, Donald Trump hasn't started a new war yet. He's left all his pieces in place with his old wars on Obama's wars, and he's still spending our money on those wars, for instance, like Afghanistan, $4 billion a day. But right now, we got to be concentrating on where he's going to spend money and where he's going to go to war next. Iran, Sarah Abdullah, I should have sent a tweet. She put a tweet up, and she goes, look how close Iran is moving their country to all our bases. All the bases around over there. They just issued a warning for non-military personnel to get the hell out of Iraq because of warning coming from Iran. So something's going on over there, but we get distracted by all these other things. And not to say it is a distraction. We should fight for equal rights, especially for women. But it can't be hollow. It can't be nothing behind it. We say this all the time, fam. When you get out in the streets and you march, you better be marching for some policy, not to just change behavior, whatnot, and everything, for policy.
Because you're not going to change the behavior of people who are pro-life. You're just not. No. You're just this is what they believe in, and and that's that. And they have the right to believe what they want to believe. What they don't have the right to do is to tell you what to believe, which is why this thing it's not going to happen. They're not going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And yes, I'm all for people showing outrage, but at the same time, I'm asking people to look at how this whole game always works. It is a game of pitting people against each other so they don't focus on anything outside of that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the
Great analogy.
Democrats can go, oh, okay, look what the Republicans are doing.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you how they're going to fix it. They want to choose Biden. Biden has like stomped for Republicans.
Yeah.
He's literally stumped for a Republican person for
He is a
Congress
Republican.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And people are the Democratic establishment is pushing him as if he's going to be any different than Trump. No, wait, like Trump or Biden is pretty much a Republican, like you said.
And it's just like a great example is, you know, Elizabeth Warren, not to digress on her too far, but she even said it's like, oh, Fox is a place for hate and all this other bullshit. But yeah, well, what about MSNBC? Yeah. What about CNN with their Russian xenophobic propaganda, their pro-war mentality? I mean, nobody's more pro-war than MSNBC. You know, the beauty of our weapons, Mr. Brian Williams, and you got fucking Joe Scarborough there in the morning. They're pro-war as can be. And once again, that's one of the biggest issues. That's why I'm kind of digressing to a spot where I don't even think I'm going to even vote for Elizabeth Warren. I mean, I think she's slowly losing any type of support I would.
Imperialism. I'm
She is.
sorry. To me, that's bottom line. I'm not voting for imperialists. I'm not, because the war machine is literally what's controlling everything that you see going on domestically. It is all connected. And I wanted to point out something. Literally what's killing Americans, and I tweeted about this, is lack of health care, climate change, bad water, the top 1% hoarding all the wealth and everybody else not getting anything, but everybody's fighting amongst each other because they're all not looking at the elites and the corporations. And then we have the military and war is killing people. We also have the politicians, the corrupt ones are also helping to kill people. What's not killing us is Venezuela, Russia, or Iran.
Yeah.
Those things, those countries, those people aren't hurting us.
Yeah.
Look at who's hurting us. And that's always what I want to point out. Like, we need to look at these connections because people like to think domestic policy is one thing and foreign policy is another.
Yeah.
It is all connected, and we suffer in our domestic policy because of our foreign policy.
Venezuela, there are more poor people in America, more people living in poverty than there are people in America than in Venezuela, period. You know what I'm saying? More people in poverty in America than actual people in Venezuela. That's number one. So why the fuck are we even worried about there? Number two, Russia. Okay? You know what I'm saying? What the fuck has Russia ever done? They've been pulling back since World War II to their borders while we've been expanding NATO. Russia didn't cause any of the Russia didn't cause the homeless problem in America. Russia didn't kill all the workers' rights in America. That was our government, not Russia. And Iran. We've been screwing with their government since we moved Mossadegh back in 1953 and planted the Shah. We caused the fanatical problem they have right now. We're sitting there and saying they're a problem. No, we caused that problem. We screw with their government. For the Persian Anglo fucking oil company, which is now BP. Why? Because Mossadegh wanted to nationalize all his oil. And let me tell you something, fam. We need to nationalize the water in this country. We need the American people need to take a hold of our water. Stop all these pipelines. Make sure our water is clean, because water is life, and they're fucking dirtying it every day. They're polluting it. Look at the problem in Flint. That shit's still going on, and it's going on all around America. And they keep drill, baby, drill. The Republican Party and polluting, putting oil in our fucking water, fam.
Exactly. And not to mention the fracking.
Yeah.
And the fracking that's going on. And again, the oil in our water and, you know, what happened at Standing Rock, their defense, all of that. Like, it's all of this is continuing. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Venezuela. And
well, I just want to talk a little bit about Venezuela, what's going on, because we're not out of the woods yet, fam. We had the embassy take over the other day. That was a bad blow. However, inside Venezuela, it seems like the military is standing behind Maduro because they had fair, free elections, fam.
Yeah.
They had fair, free elections.
Why would they stand behind a dictator? Yeah. Like that, like all of these people who are literally saying, hey, like this, you know, he's giving us healthcare. He's looking out for the poor people of this nation. Yes, there are people that oppose him, but it's very, very, very few and far between. So aside from your opinion though on Maduro, our invasion and our imperialism needs to stay away.
Yeah, I mean, once again, those elections, they have better elections than us. I'll say it right now because I know the shit that's gone on. And with the KDEM convention coming up, and this is why we tell you people, man, go to our GoFundMe, because we're going to get these microphones and these people. I wanted to highlight two people today, two leaders that are in California that will be there. Number one, Adam Schiff for brains. This guy right here, this guy is in my district right next door. It used to be all of Pasadena, but then they they gerrymandered themselves, the Democrats in California, so Judy Chu can get a spot of the action too. And she's mostly in Alhambra. So you got Adam Schiff and Judy Chu, two people who are just full of shite, who are right here in this district. So when it comes to Venezuela, I want to still point out Adam Schiff said this. I love that paper and stuff like that. It said today, Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, released the following statement on Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro's disastrous and dictatorial, I can never say that word. Dictatorial rule has devastated the economy and society of Venezuela. First of all, he was elected. Okay? So I don't know why you're calling him a dictator when he was elected. Without hope for change through the ballot box, once again, following the election that lacked legitimacy, what about our elections? The people of Venezuela are voting with their feet, fleeing the nation in the millions. Recognizing the leader of the National Assembly, Juan Guaido, who wasn't even in the fucking election, never even got one vote, as the rightful leader of Venezuela. As a number of our Latin American partners, Canada, and the Organization of American States, is an appropriate step to support the democratic aspirations of the Venezuelan people. Democratic aspirations. He fucking won the election. Maduro won his election. Jimmy Carter said the institution in 2012 himself. This is out of the 92 other countries we observed. Venezuela had the best. People like Aaron Matei, people like fucking Max Blumenthal, Greenwald, they talked about the election process in Venezuela. It's as clean as can be. But Adam Schiff, no, once again, standing behind the imperialists. Now, I got a shitty video, fam, but remember when it came to Libya? This son of a bitch, Adam Schiff, Madam Secretary couldn't bomb quick enough for him. Quick enough for him. And you can see it right here. I just put down, if you want to go to you can go to my Twitter. It doesn't have as many followers as fam. But here's the DNC's minion. They put him out here to do this stuff. He's always out there front. And he was pushing for regime change in Libya. He was wrong. Did he ever apologize? He never apologized for the American voters. So here he is again today, pushing for regime change in Venezuela. Do you want to play a little bit of that?
What is your assessment of how the White House and the State Department have handled this Libya situation thus far?
Well, I would like to see them, as I urged with Egypt, be very forward-leaning and make it abundantly clear that we stand with the Libyan people, that this kind of violence being used on peaceful protesters is appalling and absolutely unacceptable. I think we should join with the international community and urge, frankly, if they're going to be using jets to bomb their own people, that any Libyan pilots would be welcome to defect with their aircraft or otherwise. But we ought to unmistakably let the
that's fine. That was enough there, because I just want to say, when you see those conversations, fam, when he says we stand with the Libyan people, that's code for he's standing with the CIA-backed fucking rebels.
Right. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we're doing time and time again. Pasta's talked about it, I don't know how many times, the little playbook he has. Yeah. 1 through 10 or whatever, step by step. That's exactly the same thing that we're doing to Venezuela right now. And I think, and I'm organizing a little war, anti-war thing with several activists here. So I'll update you guys as that goes on.
What about when he says we have to stand with the international community? That's another code talk for we got to stand with our friends, our Western allies who help us maintain our imperialistic ways. Like, France and Britain were over there where they were celebrating the death of Gaddafi. We have this new country.
They mean nation. Western imperialist countries by international community.
Yeah. And we will make sure we follow up with Adam Schiff at the convention if he'll get in front of him, if he'll even take our interview. We're going to just try to pop in and just get our microphones in front of these people's faces. Last time I tried to follow Nancy Pelosi, I kind of got cut off going into a certain room. The Democratic Party, they always have their minions out there. It happened when I was following Jimmy Gomez, and I got cut off at the AD elections and stuff. But Mr. Adam Schiff, we have questions for you. And he also told Libyan pilots to defect. You know what's going on in Libya? There's an actual fucking slave trade. Okay, you got 7 different barbaric groups running out there trying to maintain control, trying to get control. The place has been a disaster since we took out Gaddafi. And once again, Adam Schiff, did you ever apologize to the Libyan people? You bombed them back to the Stone Age. We couldn't do it fast enough for you. Have you said anything, Adam Schiff? And here you are with the same dialogue when it comes to Venezuela. You're disgusting, my friend.
Who's the other one, fam?
Well, the other one is also going to be speaking at the dinner, I think. Well, no, wait. I think Adam Schiff and Maxine Waters will be speaking at the dinner.
But she's going to speak at the convention.
Yes, I think the opening statements will be made by one of your favorites, fam, well, Nancy Pelosi. You know her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rings a bell.
It's not a surprise, fam, that I always like to point this out, that during her tenure in public service, she's now amassed her wealth to be worth, her net worth is over $100 million. And FDR said this too, the only way you make money in politics is to be corrupt. Well, Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein did it to the tune of $72 million for net worth for Dianne Feinstein, over $100 million for Nancy Pelosi. So you're going to let this plutocratic rich woman tell you, the poor people, how to friggin' live, and listen to her.
And who to vote for.
Yeah.
And California is sadly full of these centrist neoliberal candidates.
Oh, yeah.
It's
More than
crazy.
people
A lot of people are like, "Oh, California, progressive."
No.
No. There's a lot of progressives here, but they don't have the power. Like, you know, like we have a sort of movement here it's really strong, in a grassroots movement that is very effective in organizing. But in the Democratic Party, no. There's like literally zero. Very few. We have Ro Khanna.
Yeah. And, you know, he's decent. I mean, and he still has his issues and stuff. And
but he's anti-war, and I do respect that.
We do, and stuff like that. And speaking about anti-war, you know, a lot of people always talk about, oh, Donald Trump is the worst president of our times and whatnot. I'm like, not in my time, because I still remember George Bush Jr. I think he was awful. And what he did with Iraq, you're talking about 1 million people slaughtered, over 3 million people there and stuff. And Nancy Pelosi was his little whipping boy. She voted for the Iraq war, and she also brought George Bush Jr. a bunch of votes for his fucking bank bailouts. She secured Democratic votes for George Bush to bail out the banks, and then she did it for Obama when he got in office. But let's talk about Venezuela, because, hey, maybe surely now, with all these regime change wars that have failed in her time, whether it be Honduras, Syria, Iraq, she surely has to change on Venezuela, fam, right?
No, probably not.
Well, let's put up her statement. Can you read that for me there, fam?
Nancy Pelosi's statement on the situation. I support the decision of the National Assembly, Venezuela's sole remaining democratic institution, to recognize Juan Guaido, president of the National Assembly, as the interim president until full, fair, and free elections can be held. The United States must respect legitimate democratic processes and support the right of the people of Venezuela to protest and defend their human rights. I agree, Nancy. I 100% support the democratically elected leader, Maduro.
He won.
He won. What do you have to do with it?
And then they go on with the smears.
Oh, God, Nicolas Maduro's regime of repression and impoverishment for his personal enrichment continues to gravely violate human rights and must be condemned swiftly by the full international community. What about the human rights of the Yemeni people? What about the human rights of the Syrian people? What about the human rights of the Palestinian people? What about I guess their human rights don't matter? No. What about the immigrants?
Yeah.
What about, yeah.
And what about all their sanctions, fam? All these sanctions hurt who? They hurt the poor people. They hurt the lower class and poor people. Sanctions killed the lower people. Bill Clinton killed over 500,000 children with his sanctions in Iraq. Okay? So now you're talking about these sanctions have been killing poor people in Venezuela. Not the rich, not those people who are the Guaido supporters, not those people who are entitled, who go out there to the Venezuelan embassy. Not them. The poor indigenous people. Those human rights. And you fucking keep on smearing and gaslighting and saying it's a regime. No, he won a fair election, Nancy. A fair election. Not to mention that his elections are a lot more fair in Venezuela than they are in your own fucking state. Within the 2016 primary, we still got about 1 million fucking, what do you call them, provisional ballots that went in the trash. And don't think we forgot about that, because we're also going to see Alex Padilla, and we have questions for you.
Oh, and by the way, let me just finish this, but I got a point on the DNC. His recent decision to block bridges and cut off channels of food supply imperils the health and future of the Venezuelan people and must be immediately reversed. Okay, they're doing that because they know where this is coming from. It's not they're cutting off food. They're getting food from their allies. They don't need you to interfere and Trojan horse your way into that, because that's how you transport weapons.
Yeah.
Duh.
Fam,
like, I don't understand.
You're so right. It's on the regime change playbook.
Yeah.
Act like you're sending humanitarian aid in which you're smuggling in weapons, and therefore when they stop that, you put that on TV, you publicize. She's part of the fucking deep state freaking oligarch plutocrat freaking system. She's a handler for the rich. She doesn't give a shit about you, and she doesn't give a shit about the Venezuelan people. You know why? Because she signed off on the coup in 2009 too in Honduras, which freaking killed so many people and repressed so many people within Honduras. They got death squads running through there.
And I have breaking news, by the way. I was at a Latinos for Bernie event yesterday. We were looking at organizing votes for Bernie. And there were several of our activist friends there. Danny Garcia, who's also doing stuff for the Tulsi campaign, let us know that the Democratic Party and the Democratic clubs are combining their efforts to literally single out the people who literally just registered to be Democrats to vote for Bernie in 2016, and they're unregistering them. And that way, when they go to vote, they're going to be given provisional ballots. Now, this is a fact that he was told by a source that he has in the Democratic Party, and this is what they're doing. So now we're asking everybody who's registered as a Democrat, please make sure that you're registered and that you didn't get
check your registration
constantly and consistently, because otherwise your ballot is going to become a provisional ballot, and they don't count those again, as Pasta was saying. That happened in 2016, and we were all so angry, and I remember everybody and the outrage, and it was just, I saw it happening to other people, and I was just, and mostly young people who were first-time voters or older people who didn't know what was happening and who didn't know the process. And I remember these ballots and how they called it for Hillary, and it was.
But we need free and fair elections in Venezuela. How about fucking free and fair elections over here?
Right here, within your own party.
Fam, we got to get out. Nico House is going on, MCSC Network. Please go over to our Convo Couch YouTube. We're trying to really build that up. We do have Twitters. We have a Convo Couch Twitter. There's an MCSC Twitter. We're also going to be a part of that, me and Fam, because we are part of the network. And please subscribe to our individual Twitters, our Instagram. And, of course, please help us out. We're almost there. We got one little quick video we want to end on. We'll just play that video out. But I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
Combo out. I was doing your line. Oh, we lost it. Anyways, take a look. Help us out. Our GoFundMe. We need help. Get us we're going to the convention, and we're going to get Nancy Pelosi to talk about Venezuela. Get us out, because I don't know any lyrics to the song.